Hello, design lovers. I'm Ashley Childers, and today I'm teaching you how to design a room from start to finish. I'll be sharing my entire process and the exact steps that I take when I am designing a space for an interior design client. I know you're going to love today's video, so be sure to hit the subscribe button as we drop a new design video every weekend. Let's start with step number one in designing a space, and that is to get your floor plan down on paper. Now you can do this several different ways. If you have a set of floor plans for your house, fantastic. What I want you to do is grab either a roll or you can buy tracing paper in a sheet. So you can get these at the craft store. And if you have your floor plans already, I want you to take your tracing paper, put them on top of your floor plan, and trace out the exact shape and size of your room. Most time architectural plans are in 1/4 inch scale, meaning that a 1/4 inch equals a foot. So that's very helpful. But if you're unsure about that, you can always check the bottom right-hand corner of an architectural set of plans because it will give you the scale of the plans. Now, if you don't have architectural plans for your home, it's super easy to create a floor plan from scratch. Just measure your room and draw it out to scale on a piece of paper. I oftentimes like to do it on graph paper. And it's super simple on graph paper because each one of the squares represents a foot or a meter, whatever, wherever you are in the world. So that is an easy way to do it. Getting your floor plan or room plan down on paper is an essential first step because you need to know how much space you have to deal with. So after you've done that, we're going to move to step number 2, and that is to take an assessment of all the pieces that you have in the room that you want to keep. If you don't want to keep anything, or if you're starting from scratch, you can skip this step. But if you have furniture items in the room that you want to keep, you're going to want to take a picture of them and measure them, and then transfer those measurements onto the floor plan and play around with different groupings. Maybe it's a seating grouping or a table arrangement. Make 2 scale sketches of those pieces and work them around the room to see what type of a layout you like best. After you have decided on a layout for the room with all of the existing pieces, I want you to make a list or a spreadsheet of those items plus items that you need to source and purchase. If you have a room and you've got an existing sofa you're using, but you really need some side chairs and a cocktail table, then I want you to list that on your spreadsheet and also list optimal dimensions for those pieces, because we don't want to look and fall in love with a cocktail table that's 60 inches wide when really our space can only accommodate 48 inches. A little rule of thumb here is that when you are designing a space, especially with furniture items in it, it's best to keep about 3 feet in between furniture items just for a really kind of gracious walkway. When we're designing kitchens, a lot of times we go to 5 feet, but 3 feet in a seating grouping is fine and feels really comfortable. Now that we have our spreadsheet started and our floor plan on paper, I want you to create a must-have list. This is a really essential part of the design and what is going to personalize your interior space for your needs and wants and aesthetic direction. So a must-have list could be everything from a rug that you saw that you absolutely have to have, all the way to super practical things like I need to make sure that I include a storage bench. We need to make sure that we have this beautiful faucet. If it's for a kitchen design, like I saw this faucet, I have to have it. That's a must have. Or maybe it's a banquette. Whatever it is that you know you want to include in the room, be it functional or decorative, put it on your must have list. Now that you've got your must have list, You're going to add any additional pieces that you feel like you need for the space. Do you need lamps? Do you need, decorative pillows, throw blankets, accessories, all of those things? It's really important to take the time to create a comprehensive list when you are designing a space, because if you don't, it can feel very, very overwhelming when we move into the sourcing and purchasing phase of the project. Step 4 is budget allocation. So the deal is that everybody has a budget. Your budget can be $200, it can be $200,000. It doesn't matter. Budget is important and budget allocation is important. You don't want to go spend every bit of your budget on one thing for the room when you have 25 other things to buy. Another thing about budget allocation is that it really helps to hone in your searching and sourcing efforts. Say you've allocated $2,000 for a sofa, then you don't even need to look at a sofa that's $5,000. So go through your spreadsheet line by line and allocate amounts to every item on the spreadsheet that total up to your entire budget at the bottom. And these things can be tweaked. Maybe you do find a sofa that's $2,500 and your budget was originally $2,000. Well, maybe that means you can adjust your accessories budget by $500. There's ways to kind of massage an overall budget, but having budget allocation per line item is really, really important and a way to approach an interior design the way a professional would. Now we are into the fun stuff. We are moving on to step number 5, and that is to collect inspiration images. This is probably something you've been doing for years. You might have a Pinterest board that has 1,000 images on it, and that is wonderful, but you've got to kind of narrow that visual inspiration and pare it back to maybe 5 to 10 images. This is very helpful for a lot of reasons, but when the sky's the limit, it's hard for us to make decisions. So I like to pare our inspiration images back to those 5 to 10 images. It's really, really helpful in the design process. Also, what I like to do is take those images and put them onto a mood board. We use an online platform called Canva. I love it. I think there's a free version of it. You can create incredible mood boards on Canva, and the first page of your mood board could be all of those inspiration images. Then what I want you to do when you have the inspiration images on your mood board, I want you to list out what exactly in that image you're drawn to. Is it the dark wall color? Is it the way the seating layout is? Is it the way that the rug extends all the way to the walls in the room? Whatever it is, those call outs need to be listed on the page with your inspiration images so that you can be a little bit more honed in on what you're drawn to in that image to begin with. Okay, so now we have our floor plans. We have our spreadsheet with our budget allocation. We have our inspiration board with our call outs. Now it is time to move into sourcing and procurement. This is step number 6. So it's really easy now that you have got all of these other things in place to start sourcing, because you know what you need, you know how much you can spend, and you know what size those items need to be. I like to always find 3 options for every single item, and I'm going to tell you why. First of all, when I'm sourcing for a project, I find 3 items. Say it's for a sofa. I found 3 different sofas. I take each one of those sofas and put them on the mood board so I can see different options together. Another beautiful thing about finding 3 options for each item is that in the chance that your first choice is maybe not in stock, or maybe it's, something that has a really long lead time for manufacturing and you don't want to wait that long, then you've got options already chosen and you don't have to start from scratch. So get 3 options for every one of your big pieces. put those options onto your mood board as well, and that is going to give you a starting point for the entire room. You're going to see it develop as you start building out those mood boards with the exact pieces that you want to purchase. Now, I also want to point out that we haven't talked about paint or wall coverings this entire time, because this is the stage that I do that in. I do not pick a paint color for a room before I look at what fabrics I'm using, what textiles, what rugs, what wood tones I'm gonna have in the room, flooring. All of those things get chosen collectively at this stage of the process. And I would suggest you do it that way as well. Sometimes you can't, sometimes you need to pick paint first, but it's really hard to pick a paint color and wall coverings when you have no idea the direction that the room is going to go. So give yourself some time. These things don't happen overnight. Designing an entire space intentionally takes time, and there's a process to it. So I hope that giving you the freedom to know that you don't have to pick paint first helps you in your design process. Once you've got that room exactly the way that you want it to be, you've got fabrics on there, paint colors on there, furniture, lighting options, tile if it's a kitchen, flooring, all of those things, I want you to then create a tray of those items if it is materials. So maybe it's fabric, wall coverings, paint, tile, metal finishes, anything that you can get your hands on. I highly recommend that you order a sample of it and then create a mood tray. So you've got your mood board, which is pictures, but then you've got a mood tray with all of the material selections. Once you have all of those physical representations of the materials and your digital mood boards put together, I hope that you feel really confident in your decision and you can see your design come to life. Then we move on to purchasing and procurement. So you're putting your orders in for all of the material selections, for all of the furniture. You're going around and looking for decorative accessories locally. I highly recommend doing that. A lot of times it's easier to source decorative accessories and artwork locally, and you're supporting local shops as well. So go through that phase, the purchasing and the procurement phase. Sometimes it takes a few weeks, sometimes it takes months. But after that, it is time to move on to the final step, step number 7, and that is install day. Now, I know this can look a little bit different for every project, because if you're designing a room yourself, you may be getting shipments all the time over multiple months, but I think it's so important to give yourself a true install day experience, even if you've been putting pieces into the room and decorating the room over time. I think everyone needs the excitement of a big reveal. So, fluff the pillows, add a candle, put some fresh flowers in the room, and give yourself the satisfaction of a room reveal, just like you would if you worked with an interior designer. I hope you loved today's video, and I hope it really helps you feel confident in designing a room for yourself. Now, if you want even more design goodness right now, you're going to want to watch this playlist next. And if you want a little sneak peek into my daily design adventures, follow us over on Instagram and Threads at Ashley Childers Home. As always, I'm Ashley Childers. Thank you for watching, and remember, good design is for everyone. So create a home that inspires you. Have fun designing your space from start to finish, and fall in love with where you live one room at a time.